Hello and welcome to another Conversations That Matter. For those of you who don't know me by now, I am Yorona Boster. I'm a certified speaker and communications coach, a life coach, speaker, author, podcaster. I do all of those fun things. And I love helping people communicate with purpose and integrity with themselves and all those around them. So before Rosemary goes ahead and introduces herself, I have a little request for anyone listening or watching. As this series continues, I would love your input for communication topics that interest you. You see, communication runs deep. It's a lot deeper than we think. So don't be afraid to stretch the limits of where and how it shapes our lives. Please feel free to DM your ideas to me, drop them in the comments, or even email them to me at yoroneboster.com. All right, Rosemary, would you please go ahead and tell our audience a little bit about yourself before we jump into our conversation?
First, I just am so inspired by you, and I'm so happy that you invited me on your program today. So thank you.
Thank you.
I probably have been a communicator my entire life. Grew up very quiet, but being a former school teacher and then working with hundreds of people through my business, Hands of Light by Rosemary, and my podcast, The Lightwalker's Path, I find many ways to communicate. I'm also an author, so I have about 11 published books at this time. And I do love to be able to do deep dives, as you say, and communicate. And I hope that I can inspire somebody out there that's listening today. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rosemary. Wonderful. So we are going to get into a deep dive on one of the topics that you really center and focus all of your work around, which is all about energy healing. So the question that we want to start off with is, how does energy healing through Reiki and intuitive guidance communicate more authentically? How does it help us communicate more authentically with ourselves and with others?
Beautiful question. So first, I would like to say that when you are in tune with the energy, and when you go on, let's say, a Reiki path or a spiritual quest or path to find your authentic self, once your authentic self begins to bubble up, you will better align decisions with your authentic self. Excuse me, something popped up on my screen. You can better align how you communicate. And as an energy healer, as you know, when people walk in the room, they hold energy. And before you even say a word, the energy enters with you. And it allows people to know, are you approachable? Can I talk to you? Can you be open and understanding to where I am in life? And as a Reiki Master Teacher and as one that works with lots of people, one of the best comments I get is, I feel so loved here. I feel so heard here. And that makes my heart very happy, because I know that what I'm doing is aligning with who they need me to be for them. And that's part of where I think communication begins.
I love that. Yeah. And it is so true. You know what's so interesting? I just was listening to something the other day, and I heard that I think humans generate the same amount of energy as an 80-watt light bulb.
Oh, that's cool.
So science, we actually have science that proves humans are we are generative of energy.
We absolutely
Yet
are.
A lot of people dismiss it because that energy is not something we can necessarily see right away. Now, it's not the same thing as seeing our hands, seeing our arms, seeing things, but we certainly can feel it. Babies in utero can feel that energy. We can feel that energy. A parent can feel the energy of their child and sense that something is wrong, yet we dismiss it because it's not something we can easily see right in front of our eyes, or it's not simply.
I wonder if it's simply our culture too, because if you think about it, everyone has had EKGs, which is the energy of your heart, and you could see it on a screen when they check your heart. We have photons and light in between our cells. In fact, everything is made of light at the most basic level of atoms and such. You could, send a thought to someone and they call you on the phone. That's an energetic connection. You could be in a
Yeah.
room and feel the energy of someone, if it's positive or negative, based upon the energy of the field around them, which is called their aura. So even if someone doesn't have the understanding of that, they photograph pictures of the aura. They've done research on, especially through quantum physics, about how cells communicate over space and time. Einstein called it spooky
Yes.
energy over a distance. It's really entrainment of two different pieces of energy at two different places. It's kind of how energy works. It travels through us, through another person, mother to child, lover to lover, friend to friend. So we all have this energetic connection with each other and all living things, which is why it's
Right.
fascinating, So to walk
It
into it,
is.
I just love working with people and feeling their energy and helping them vibe with a higher feeling of vibration and joy through being their authentic self.
And what you said there about what Einstein said about how the cells can communicate through time and
Mm-hmm.
space,
Mm-hmm.
right? Communication. Here's something I say all the time to people, and I will repeat it until the end of my time. As humans, we are made up of these essential 6 pieces to us. At least this is my particular take on it.
Mm-hmm.
So don't quote me on this, but this is my take. We are made up of this essential core that people describe as the energy, the essence, the soul,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the whatever it is you want to describe it as, right? But then we have our thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
our ideas. Ideas are different than thoughts. Our beliefs,
Beliefs.
our emotions, and our behaviors or our
Mm-hmm.
actions and behaviors. Communication, the way I see it, is the behavior by which we get to express all the rest of this.
That's a great way to talk about it. Yes.
And so when we get really, really, really skilled at communication, at the behavior of communication, we can show up with all of this truly intact and show the world exactly who we are and how we want to show up in that world. Now, what I find very interesting is that a lot of people don't realize communication is not intuitive. Communication is a learned behavioral skill.
Mm-hmm.
Any learned behavioral skill that is learned in your earliest environment, there are certain innate
Mm-hmm.
traits to
Right.
communication. There is some of the nonverbal traits, those do come in intuitively. But when we start to utilize them, the skill of that utilization, the skill of that development is not intuitive. So some people maybe naturally have some certain natural intuitive nature
Mm-hmm.
to it, but most of the time it's really developed. The externalization of it is very much developed in our environment, the environment we're born into, the people
Mm-hmm.
who influence that environment, and then the environments we move through throughout our lives.
Yes. Yes.
So what's important about bringing this back to our energy source is that it takes a lot of energy to communicate well. And yet it's also a reciprocal, in my mind, again,
Yeah,
a reciprocal exchange.
absolutely.
We can both move that energy, we can replenish that energy and utilize it at the same time, and sort of like a reciprocal
Mm-hmm.
exchange of that. What are your thoughts on that?
So one of the things that you had asked me about is how like Reiki helps with communication. And one of the things that it does is it helps to balance the energy field called the chakra system, which you might have heard of if you do yoga and that kind of thing. But the chakras are energy points. And one of the ones that clears when you are attuned, which means you learn the system of Reiki, is the throat chakra. And when this opens, it allows someone to unblock some of these early training, karma, memories from a long time ago. And it
Mm,
begins to rebalance and allow the throat to express what the body's been holding or what we've shut down. So, one of the benefits is clearing the throat chakra as well as the other systems so that we can fully release what we hold in that we need to express in a positive way. And then the trick is a positive way. So once you're on any kind of healing path, especially the one and
right.
my clients that I deal with, is you can express yourself kindly. You can express your authentic self as long as it's through kindness and through the
Right.
understanding that our words do have power, and we are saying what we
Mm.
need to say, but not to hurt someone, but to express our true needs and what we need for ourselves and our life. So that's how I view communication.
What happens if it comes out unkindly?
Then I usually think about, well, usually I think before I talk, and I tell people, just give yourself a pause and think about what you're going to say. And if you are in the state of anger, hold back, breathe, go for a walk, and then come back to it and communicate when you are in a calm place, because you can't take back
Yeah.
words that you've said. You know, the one thing you want to say to harm someone when you're angry is the thing you shouldn't say, because that's not helpful to communication. In fact, it blocks it. So I would say
Right.
hold till you're ready to express it with kindness. And once you can express your emotion with the feeling of love and kindness, that's when you express yourself.
I
Sometimes it
love
takes a
that.
little bit.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it takes a bit. And
Yeah.
here's something really interesting um, that I have been really diving into, especially with emotional. I mean, I'm always diving into
Mm-hmm.
emotional regulation, but 90 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
90 seconds is the time in which when your body is physiologically stimulated by the chemical that's released by the emotion.
Yes. Yes.
And it takes 90 seconds for that emotion to actually run
Mm-hmm.
its course, literally,
Mm-hmm.
physiologically and chemically, through your body.
Yes.
So if you're feeling however, and this is a very important piece to this puzzle, it will last longer than 90 seconds if we feed it.
Oh, that's good. Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
we feed it through the stories we tell ourselves, the thoughts we keep
Mm-hmm.
cycling through and ruminating on.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that we have to ride the wave of that chemical release, allow it, don't repress it, but actually
Mm-hmm.
allow it to go through us so that we can then, and this is our body communicating
Mm-hmm.
itself to
Absolutely.
ourselves. It's the chemical that communicates, you are feeling this way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that feeling doesn't have to perseverate. It doesn't have to stay. It doesn't have to
That's the
linger.
trick. That's where people get stuck,
And
Your Honor,
that's the
right?
trick. That's
Yes.
all the time. My husband and I have
Mhm.
this constant conversation about it. There is a difference between repressing and processing.
Yes, and sometimes people take a little longer to process if they are
Right.
not, let's say, I don't want to use the word introvert, but quieter people sometimes take longer, or very emotional people maybe take a little bit longer to process, where I would like know, like, I'm going to do this. My loved one might say, I need a day or I need 2 hours, and
Right,
it's
right,
like,
right.
you can get impatient when you're a quick decision maker. But that's another style
Right.
of communication that probably happens in a lot of families and a lot of settings with friends and people.
All the time. I have a story to say about that, but I want to bring it I'm going to tell that story, but I first want to bring it back to
Mhm.
the chemical aspect. When a chemical response is happening, there's an energy release.
Of course. Yes.
So we have to understand that energy release is processing through us, and we
Hmm.
need to provide it time. If we try to say, no, 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 I don't want to feel this way,
All right.
what we're doing is we're actually trying to stop energy in its tracks, and that doesn't
Right.
actually work. So
It
it, it,
finds
it
its way.
actually
Yeah, into the
it finds its
body.
way into other parts of our body.
Absolutely.
And that's where, that book, The Body Keeps the Score.
Hmm.
There's also Dr. Gabor Mate, who wrote When the Body Says No. All of these
Hmm.
things, the energy is going to go somewhere.
Got to go somewhere.
And that means it's going to impact, and that's going to push the chemical process to impact another piece of our
Right.
body. So
Yes.
processing it means allowing it to come and allowing it to go on its
Hmm.
own accord. Now,
So
what you said there, I think, is to bring it back to what you said, though, before, everybody does it differently. That is
hmm
very true.
hmm
I will tell this to every human out there, but as unique as we are as humans, we are 1 in 400 trillion. That is the level of uniqueness of every human.
hmm
That's a data point that there's a study that was done a number of years back to figure that out. That uniqueness needs to be identified, recognized, and
Absolutely.
acknowledged, and say,
Yeah.
just because my my just because I can get over this quickly, I can allow the process to happen quickly, does not mean somebody else can.
It's
And that
absolutely
means
true. Yeah.
I have to
It's like
accept that.
grief too. You think someone says, when you lose someone you love, they'll say, "Oh, just get over it." Like everyone
Oh,
has a different way to process grief, the way to process emotion, and we are
right,
all so unique. And I think that's what we always have to remember is when you're dealing with someone, anyone really, we're all different than each
right,
other, but just
right.
knowing that each one of us has a different style of communication and a different style of learned behaviors, beliefs, family systems, and even culturally, how we may
Uh,
communicate different culturally. So there's lots of different
yes.
pieces to how we energetically express ourselves.
So when I was a kid, I found it very frustrating that my mom, we would get into an argument about something.
Hmm.
And then minutes later, my mom would come to me and be like, "Oh, and she's happy about something, and I'm
Yeah.
like, and I used to in my mind call her Jekyll and Hyde. That's what I
Yes,
used to call
yes,
her.
yes,
So I was like, I'm still
yes.
mad about this,
Right. How could you
I'm
get
still
over it?
like, how can you get over this? I used to call her hot and cold. I used to
Yes.
see that as like a problem. But what I hadn't identified was the fact that she would actually just, like, no, it's fine. It
Hmm.
passed. It
She
passed.
let
It's
it go.
gone. And now
She
let's move on. She
decompressed
let
it.
it go.
Yes.
And here was the problem though. She didn't verbally acknowledge that to me.
Right.
So I made these assumptions in my mind. This is where we get lost in communication.
Hmm.
We make a lot of assumptions that something is wrong with someone else because they're not processing it the same way we're processing.
That's true.
But when we verbalize, hey, that was really rough. That was a
Hmm.
hard argument. I'm feeling better right now. I feel like I was able to get
Hmm.
that off of my. How are you doing?
Yes, and I think that's the important step a lot of people miss is that when someone is upset, instead of reacting to their anger, I would think it's best to react to why is that person feeling this way? What don't I understand about their emotion? And if that step is gone, and then the person starts to either yell back or name call, your communication's shot because that person just blew it out of the water instead of realizing maybe you're upset about something. Maybe there's something I need to understand that you need to express to me. And I think that's
Yeah,
really important as far as communication and relationships and everything, really.
everything. That's why I say
Mhm,
communication is
mhm.
the foundation upon which we can
Vital.
do everything else in our life.
Mhm.
It really is. I will never see another. I mean, look, I think if we get down to the molecular level, that's a different story. But
But even our
communication
cells
is
communicate,
so,
Yorona, right? Even your cells
yeah,
are communicating with each other at all times, right?
right,
Your body
right.
communicates when you're upset, your stomach will act up. Those are your cells, your
Mhm.
serotonin and your chemicals reacting
Yep.
to an emotion or a feeling. So
Right,
without communication, your whole body wouldn't work. Everything's communicating with everything
right.
else, really. We're a
We
symphony.
actually have we actually have these molecules, these receptors in our body.
Mhm,
Their sole design, their sole molecular design is to communicate more efficiently with
mhm.
different parts in the body.
Right.
That's their entire design. It's called redox signaling,
Yes,
the
yes.
redox signals in our body. And it's so incredible because it tells us there is a whole world going on
There
inside
is.
of us.
We're a microcosm. I always say we are a pattern of the universe. So when you look at the universe of the cells and the stars, we're just that, but
Yeah.
encased. It's because we're part of
Encased.
everything. So we're just
Well,
encased.
I I was listening to one of my all-time favorite communicators, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the other day,
Hmm.
and he was saying, we in fact actually are stardust.
Oh, yes, yes.
Because what the elements that make up humans,
Hmm.
hydrogen, oxygen, carbon,
Yes,
nitrogen, are literally the same elements in
everything.
stardust.
Absolutely.
So when you think about that, you're like, oh,
Yeah,
huh.
yeah.
You
That's
know,
right. That's right.
it's beautiful. It's one of the reasons why I think we don't look, logic is a beautiful thing. Under and a lot of people bypass their intuition for their
Mhm.
logic, right?
Right.
Again, what they can see, what they can hear, what they can taste, touch, and feel,
That's
and
right.
and smell. and they think, no, 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 it has to be this. And I always say, well, it
There's
doesn't
so
have to be an
much,
and
so much
or. It
more.
doesn't have to be an or a but. It can be
Mhm.
both and. We
Yes.
can be both energetic creatures and also utilize education to make
Mhm.
us more intellectually knowledgeable about what's going on energetically,
Yeah.
what's going on that molecular level, what's going on, you know, within the atmosphere of what we cannot actually see.
And I just think we're never gonna know the complete story until we pass, because there's so much. So we even though you can logic something,
Yeah.
I always go like,
Right.
if I'm making a decision, I always tap into my intuition, and I ask my body how I feel about the decision, and then I go back and I look, "Okay, how does this get done?" Then I'll look at the things of what's the next thing I have to do. But I always make my decision based upon my awareness and my inner
Mhm.
truth and my body. And if it's screaming at me, "No, no," then I know I have to wait on it or think about it further before I can come to something. But it's always from the body first because that doesn't lie. The brain, that'll lie to you. You're going to get the big list and the yes and the no's and all the this and the that, and it derails you. So you have to use
Okay, and
both.
I want to talk a little bit more about that intuitive aspect
Mhm.
because we were saying about intuitive
Yes.
guidance, but what you said about the brain lying to you, I have to expound on that. Our
Mhm.
brain stores our memories and experience.
Right.
And memories and experience will lie to us all the time
That's right.
because experiences are all about the perspectives that shaped what we
Absolutely.
had.
Yeah.
They experiences and memories are stored in our brain,
We view them a certain
not on truth, but on
right.
our
Your
view of
perspective.
what happened, our perspective on what happened.
Absolutely.
So I tell people, think about it like this. You could have 1,000 people on a train, and that
Mhm.
train derails. You will have 1,000 different stories about what happened
Oh, sure.
because the stories are based on previous past
Right.
experiences of everything leading
That's
up to
right.
this and the perspectives you formed
Perspective.
based on those
And the
experiences.
reticulating activation system, which is going to notice the negative things to protect you that sometimes get in the way, because then everything's scary if that one thing happened to you. So that's a lot of times skews the perspective as well, right? How we view
Yes.
it and our early experiences. So one
Very.
person finds a joyful experience like walking into a room with a bunch of people. Oh, who can I meet? A shy person might say, "Oh my God, they're going to hate me. I don't know what I'm going to think. My clothes are funny," and they'll go through this whole story about why they're uncomfortable. When another person will say, "Oh, what a great opportunity. Look at all these great people I can meet."
Right.
It's all based on,
Right.
on your perspective.
The
So good
introvert will
point.
say, "This is my worst nightmare," and the
Yeah.
extrovert will be like, "This is the best thing
This is the
ever."
best thing, exactly, and I've been both, so I
Right?
understand both perspectives very well.
Like at karaoke last night with my friend, we went to karaoke and she's like, "No, I am not singing," and I'm like, "I'm gonna sing," and
Uh-huh.
and she's like, "No, that is like no,
Yes.
no," and I'm like,
Yes.
"Yes," and that's because of the way we
Different.
experienced it. And when we dove deeper, we were having this really wonderful conversation. And she said when she was young, she in second grade, she tried out for the choir,
Oh.
and they kicked her out. She wasn't good
Oh.
enough.
Yes.
And since that moment, she still remembers that. Since that moment, she created in her brain a belief
Of course, that she
based on
wasn't
that
good.
experience that she was
Mhm.
not good at singing and she should not sing in public.
Mhm.
And when we do that, when we have these experiences, they formulate beliefs, not
They
just
do.
perspectives, but beliefs.
Beliefs. Yes.
Perspectives come from a little bit of distant observation,
Mhm.
but
Right.
beliefs are structured
It's
based on
structured.
something that
Mhm.
we perceived, and then it moved into a belief system, and belief systems are
Yes.
super
They're hard. They're dug
they're
deep.
they're hard, they're
They're
dug
dug
deep.
deep.
I think about it like whenever I think about the neural pathways, I think about when you're driving on a road and a rut has
I was
formed
just
because that road has
I
been
was just
driven on
visualizing
so
ruts in the
long, and
road.
it's this
Yes.
deep rut, right? It
Mhm.
takes a lot of work to have to smooth that rut out or to have to
Sure. To
rebuild
fill it
that
in.
rut, and that's a belief. It's one
Mhm.
of the reasons why we cannot argue with people when they have a belief.
No, and it's very frustrating too because sometimes they'll have such a strong belief about something that they're not looking at any factual information. It's just this is how I feel, and that's all that is true. And it's
Right.
really, it's frustrating because again, you're in that stuck state where you can't bring out any new information. It's like a full cup can't be filled. So you
Right.
have to be open, to another viewpoint in order to expand who you are. And I say that with even meeting people of different backgrounds, types, and beliefs. You have to be open, because if you're not, you can't learn anything. You're just,
Right.
then you'll just be stuck. So you have to be open to different viewpoints, and be energetically aware that other
Yeah.
people may think differently.
One of the ways that I like to open myself to other viewpoints is to put myself into observation mode. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not attached to this XYZ. This
Mm-hmm.
is not going to force it may trigger a feeling in me, but that feeling will pass.
Right.
But I want to be open with curiosity and
There you
exploration.
go.
So that openness of curiosity and exploration puts me in the observer mode. And the
Yes,
observer mode allows me to observe my thought and say, and
it's
as
true.
somebody's saying, telling me, well, this is what's real for
Yeah.
me, and this is what I believe,
It may be real for
my
them.
a thought will trigger in my brain that says, well, that's inaccurate, or that's not right, or
Yes,
that's and I'll look at that thought and I'll say, okay, that's a thought.
it's a thought.
But I
Yep.
don't have to express that thought here. I want to get more curious about this person and why
Right. And
and
why
how
they're,
they came
yes, to that
to this
belief.
belief.
That's true. Oh, you just froze, Yorona.
Some people do this. No,
Yes.
that's not good.
That's okay. You're
Am I
back. You
frozen
just
again?
froze for a second.
Okay, I'm back.
No, you're
Okay.
good. You're
Oh,
good.
technology, as we were talking about.
I know.
I think I have an energy vibration that technology doesn't love.
There you go.
So,
Yes, true. I can't wear watches, so same thing.
right. Okay. So I think what's incredible is you can see some people are super eloquent in that navigational process of getting curious and exploring with
Mm-hmm.
somebody about their belief system, as opposed to arguing
Yeah.
about them and trying to say, no, you have to see it my
Yes.
way.
Yes. Do it my way.
So this, I think there is a level of intuitive guidance with this, and I want to bring that back. I want to
Absolutely.
bring that back in. Why is intuitive guidance so vital to the communication process?
So for me, intuition is our link directly to the divine. So the intuitive guidance is something like our inner wisdom, or I call it our inner guru. It's your inner wisdom that has all the truth of all that is. And that's the thing that is not linked in or attached to any outside belief. It's more like this is what it is, and let's see if we can link you into this truth. So once you're linked into
Mhm.
this, you begin to kind of see without like a prejudiced eye about what is
Right.
happening, and it's a better navigation system. So it also will align with what feels right for your soul's journey for this time around. So let's say my soul's
Mhm.
journey is to help and to heal. If I'm doing something harmful, that's not in alignment with what I came in to do. If I'm going to communicate and I'm not attempting to communicate, then that's not in alignment with what my intuitive guidance has brought me here to do. So I really believe it's a
Right.
lot about path and about our inner wisdom, our inner guidance, the path we came here to do, and our purpose on this earth. Because I do believe Earth is a school,
Mhm.
and we come here to learn, and the purpose of it
Yeah.
is to learn. To
Yeah.
share, to learn, and to guide. And other
Yeah.
people may have a different purpose, but I know that's mine. So
That
that's what I kind
that
of align
is
with.
that is so beautiful. And that's actually something that I think about all the time. Like, what is my purpose, my path? And I think about it like our compass, right?
It's
It's
like
that
our
inner
compass.
compass that,
Yes.
right? Our compass is always going to point true north, but
Hmm.
sometimes we're going to miss it because we're going to be really
Hmm.
engaged in these other things. But coming back to intuition, I think we, at some point in our lives, this is, I think,
Hmm.
generationally cyclical. I
Yeah.
think it's passed down. We get told, no, 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 don't listen to that.
I think
You do
yes.
what I tell you. Don't listen to that thing
I,
that's
I
telling you
think it depends a
otherwise.
lot on parenting, because my father was extremely intuitive and my mother was very linear and very intelligent. So I got the combination of both things. but I knew my
Right.
father's intuition was right on, and it was very gut-centered, like, this is what I'm feeling, and I learned to value it through watching my father and realizing that he always knew people, and people would gravitate toward dad, tell him things. Me too, you know? I could sit there, people
Right.
come over and tell me secrets. So I think it's that energy of the intuitive awareness that people are drawn to because they know that you're going
Mm.
to not judge them, but you're just gonna be there to listen or to guide,
Ah,
whatever, you know?
yeah.
But I, you know,
I
I
think that's
definitely do think it's parenting. And, you know, I've met people from very open families and very left brain, like do it this way families. And
mhm.
it creates a different pattern for each of us. But again, I believe that we come into the family we're supposed to so that we can learn
Right.
and overcome the parenting styles that we chose to come in with. So
Right.
I
Oh,
just
I
think it's all
love
part of
that.
our lesson. We're supposed to, because that's what made you a fantastic communicator and why I care so
Uh-huh.
much about people. You know, and I think
Right.
parents are in place to kind of remind us of our path in whatever ways they do, positive or
Here's what's
negative.
so interesting because, parenting is one of my biggest things.
Yes.
And I always tell people, like, the hardest thing to acknowledge is when we get older, we see where our parents went wrong. And the
Mhm.
hardest thing to acknowledge is they did the best with what they knew
What they
and what they
knew.
had.
Yes.
So instead of just continuing to blame them for how you've been shaped, you can reshape yourself. But
Mhm.
it does not come from saying, I don't want to be that.
Right.
It comes from saying, here's what I want to be.
That's right.
And this is really hard for people because my mom, when I was a kid, there was a lot of, and I'm just going to be really
Mhm.
truthful about this. There was a lot of mental and emotional abuse.
Mhm.
And it's because her parents did that to
They
her.
didn't know. Yeah.
Now, here was something crazy because she communicated this to us. In her very logical moments when emotions weren't heightened, she would say, I don't want to be anything like my parents.
Yes.
But when the emotional triggers, when she was off in all of her feels,
Yeah.
what happened? She leaned back on what she knew,
That's right. What felt familiar.
what felt familiar and what she had learned.
Mhm.
So it's not about an unlearning, it's about a new learning. It's
Absolutely.
about replacing what you
Reframe.
know with something new, creating something new,
Mhm.
a recreation. So she would say she didn't want to do this, but she didn't know anything
That's
else.
right.
So
Nothing's
my
replaceable.
goal,
Yeah.
that's my biggest goal with parents when I work with them is to help them understand it's great. This is a great start on knowing what you
Mhm.
don't want to do. It's a great start.
But what do you wanna do, right?
But what do you want to do is the most important part. And then the practice of the doing when you're
Mhm.
not emotionally
Triggered.
heightened and
Mhm.
triggered, when you're not
Yes.
in that emotionally responsive state. Because that's something my husband and I talk about all the time with Connor. I said, we're working with him on breathing practices. He has a
Mhm.
lot of emotional regulation issues,
Mhm.
irony of ironies,
Yeah.
because I wasn't always who I am now these days. When I was pregnant with him, I was very stressed. There was a
Mm.
lot going. I was still dealing and healing with all the traumas that I had
Yes.
experienced, my parents' death, my niece, my nephew, all of these people's
Yeah.
deaths, and all of that. And I brought that in with me. I
Yeah.
brought that stress in with me, and I brought a lot of my natural inclinations with me that I
Well,
have learned since to, work through.
peace.
So now we're working with a lot of stuff. But
Yeah.
the hardest part is remembering it's a practice. You wouldn't
Mhm.
send a pianist to do a concert if
That's
he's never
right.
practiced,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So as humans, we need to learn how to communicate well when the pressure is low.
Absolutely. Yeah,
We
'cause
need to
you can't do it
practice.
when you're in that rage or red state. I call it the red
Right,
state.
right.
When I was teaching kids, if a child was angry, I would say, "Let's walk around the playground." And then we'd walk
Yeah,
until they were calm, and then they would just start to talk because they were
yeah,
calm. But you can't deal with anyone when they're in that red zone. You just
right.
can't. You like an animal. I think
No,
of like
you
my dog when it barks. You can't stop a dog when it's lunging. You have to when it's calm, that's when you can kind of
Right.
be in that space with the animal,
Mhm.
because again, they're
And
energy
train it.
beings.
Right. And that means it also requires us to listen to that intuitive guidance, the depth
Mhm.
of it. It's deep and it's buried in there.
Yes, right
For
under your
some
nose.
people, it's buried super deep beneath a
Yes,
lot
yes.
of
A
stuff on
lot of
top,
thought.
which requires you to have to clear that clutter away.
Mhm.
It is so interesting how often, though, we second guess. I know for me,
Mhm.
this took so many years of like, I'm second guessing this. I'm second guessing
Yeah.
this. Something happened in my, I'm writing my parenting book right now. And I met with this woman she's a big deal. So I was kind of like, okay, you're a big deal. Cool. She immediately started saying, no, you have to change the cover. You have to
Oh, no.
all this sort of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, on the one side of me, I'm like, oh,
Uh-huh.
she's a big deal, right? And she knows her stuff. But I listened to my intuition. And I
Mhm.
said, she's wrong. This is not
Right.
what's right for me. It's not what's
Mhm.
right for the community that I'm serving.
That's right.
And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. No.
Mhm. And
So
that's
now
also your
as I'm
boundary too. That's also knowing your
Yeah,
boundary of what's important for
yeah.
you. Yeah.
And which is something I did not learn as a child. Boundaries were not a thing in my home.
You're
We
not
didn't
allowed to
even
have
have
them.
locks. We didn't even have locks
I
on
didn't
our
either. I didn't
doors.
either. I didn't even understand that was a
No
thing.
locks.
I
I
never
didn't
did
know that
either.
was a thing either. I was
I
like,
couldn't
wait,
put a
wait, wait.
poster
You
in
have
my room. It was mom's
you
room. I couldn't put anything in the room, nothing. Yeah.
you had a lock on your bedroom door? You could lock your parents out?
No.
I was like, what?
No.
No, no, no. We had no physical or
Nothing. They
mental
could walk
bound
in, even the
nothing.
bathroom. I'm thinking I was the youngest kid. People would just like come in the bathroom when I was in there. I didn't even have privacy in the bathroom.
Yes. Didn't me neither. My
Yeah.
sister, okay, this is kind of funny though. My sister and I used to play this mommy and baby game. Now, mind you, I'm the youngest of
Uh-huh.
three.
Me too.
I was mommy, she was baby. She was the
Mhm.
middle sister. And she would constantly, I'd be in the bathroom and she'd constantly come in crawling like a baby, she'd be like, mommy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. And it's interesting because these days, one of the things I get told the most by so many people, my clients,
Mhm.
people from audiences and stuff like that, is my nurturing quality.
Mhm.
Is that
That's
I have
awesome.
this thing that makes them feel secure and
That's
safe
right.
and nurtured and cared for. And I think about that, I take myself back, even my relationship with my sister till today is still there's
Mhm.
that nurturing aspect to it. Um, and it tells me, okay, that's a part of my compass. That's a part of
There we
who I
go.
am and who I'm
That's
meant to be. And
yes.
I need to lean into that. And that's
Yes.
cool. I'm good with that, you
Yes.
know.
That's great.
So it's really interesting that into the communication we can actually discover within ourselves when we listen
It's always
to
there.
the
Yes.
deepest part of who we are.
I
Right.
think too, like when I train people with the Reiki too, it does open up the they call psychic pathways, but it opens your intuition and you begin to rely and understand it better at a deeper level. So it begins to like peel away all this other junk that doesn't serve
Yeah.
your higher purpose. And it
Mhm.
realigns you with whatever your higher purpose is, whatever that is. And then you continue to just do that and work on it and align with it when you get off track. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's another way that that fosters that intuitive guidance that we
I
have.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Okay,
Yeah.
so before we go, I would love to
Mhm.
know if you have any final thoughts for our audience and a big takeaway when it comes to communication and
Wonderful.
all the practices and work you do.
So first thing I would tell you first, I want to thank you first for having me on today, which I loved. I would just remind people that if they feel lost, there's so many people around that can help. We have, our guides, we have, our angels, we have people that do the work that we do that can guide you. They can always connect with me at info@rosemaryd.com or rosemaryd.com. I also have a podcast, The Lightwalker's Path, where I have fabulous people on that they can learn from. So that's a good thing. And my message is that your intuition is the best part of who you are. It's not really your thinking brain, although I love my thinking brain. My intuition I value just as highly, in fact, more so, because it guides me the best way and it's from the heart. So that would be my takeaway.
Mhm.
And check out my books. That'd be great.
Yes. Yes, please, everybody, go to Rosemary's website, go to, really allow yourself the opportunity to dig in deeper. If this is something you've ever been curious in, listen to your guidance that's telling you this is something I need to investigate more about.
Thank you.
And if your intuition is telling you, this scares me,
it's okay.
I would actually investigate that even further. Because our fear is often, it's trained to keep us safe and secure, but it can also keep us small. And that's not great in this world when there's information and beautiful amounts of wisdom everywhere. And Rosemary has a massive truckloads of wisdom and knowledge to give all of you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure having this conversation.